Hello everyone and welcome back. Today will be a longer video and a little different, but in a way the same. We will be reading some scary stories while we do a full playthrough of the original Slender: The Arrival. Same with the last Scary Stories video, some of these stories could be triggering to some, so viewers' discretion is advised. All of these stories will be linked in the description and the playlist with all Gaming Stories videos. That being said, sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. My work is killing me. I think I'm going to die in a couple of hours. So I'll try to write this as quickly and in as much detail as possible. I apologize for mistakes. It all started about 7 days ago. I had to turn in the final report for my job. I worked as a consultant, so I had to review a ton of documentation nonstop. Things were clear. I had to create a strict work routine to be able to finish on time. The pay was good, so it would be completely worth it. And after finishing, I would have a few weeks of total rest. My plan was to buy a lot of food and lock myself in the office until I finished. I bought snacks, several cans of Red Bull for the tough days, toilet paper, wet wipes, 2 cartons of cigarettes. When I got home, I put everything in the kitchen and packed clothes in my travel bag. I made several Tupperware containers with prepared food for the 7 days, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It was a heavy day. I chopped a lot of vegetables, made a variety of sauces, meats, rice, pasta, potatoes, sautéed vegetables. I was cooking, cooling, and packing, and when I finally finished, it was 6 in the evening. I ate a sandwich and loaded the things into my car. I drove for 2 hours, trying to keep my mind clear. Upon entering the office building, I put my sleeping bag on the floor, took out my cigarette, and locked the office door. I went up an elevator with the shopping bags, and as I closed the door behind me, I felt a slight chill. I took the things to the mini fridge and arranged the food as best I could. I went to the bathroom and checked my body. I was a bit dirty from all the preparation. My fingertips were yellowish from the turmeric and paprika. I decided to take a shower. Luckily, my office bathroom has a small shower. I took off my clothes and noticed they were covered in flour. I showered, put on my pajamas, and went to sleep. I tried putting on animal documentaries on my phone to help me fall asleep. As I got into the sleeping bag, I felt its soft but somewhat uncomfortable touch. I looked for the most comfortable position for my arm. It usually cramps up in the middle of the night, and tried to sleep. I tossed and turned almost all night. I couldn't stop thinking about what I had to deliver. I dreamed that I was delayed, that I couldn't deliver on time, and wouldn't get paid for several months of work. I dreamed that someone stole my documents. I even dreamed that someone knocked on the door and kept me talking for hours without me being able to make progress on the documents. Waking up on the first day was horrible. I made myself a coffee and, yawning, tried to start. The first objectives were relatively easy. After the first 2 hours, I had made good progress, but sleepiness was starting to hit me. I tried to get as far ahead as possible, then stopped, put lasagna in the microwave, and went to the bathroom while it heated up. I took the lasagna out of the oven, burning my fingers a little. I looked for a video about 15 minutes long and ate while watching my phone. I took everything to the kitchen, grabbed a can of Red Bull, and sat back down at the keyboard. At the end of the day, I had a quick snack while smoking, took a shower, got into sleeper, and tried to sleep. The next day was more the same. Get up, coffee maybe with some bread, work, heat a meal in the microwave, eat while watching a video, Red Bull, work, cigarette and snack, shower and sleep. One more day. Get up, tea, work, microwave, eat, Red Bull, work, cigarette, shower and sleep. The work was progressing, and I measured time by the number of Red Bull cans left. I was an idiot. I brought a 6-pack, only 6 cans. There will be no Red Bull for the last day. Well, things went on like that until today. Yesterday, I finished everything. Today, I woke up just to send the work. They sent me a delivery confirmation, and I felt like a weight had been lifted off me. I smoked a cigarette and went to the kitchen. I opened the fridge door. The door became flexible when I opened it, like opening a can. I blinked hard. Too much work. I tried to open again. This time it not only became flexible, but bent completely, preventing me from closing it again. I immediately let go of the door and took a step back. The fridge was wrinkling like a raisin. I shook my head. I ran to the bathroom. I washed my face. As I looked up at the mirror, a liquid was running down its surface. I brought my finger closer to touch the glass. My finger bent, following gravity. I ran toward the front desk, but my legs became heavy, as if they were sticking to the floor. I inserted the key into the lock. It made a watery sound. It didn't work. When I pulled out the key, it was smeared with some slime. I tried to run toward the window, but my body became extremely heavy. When I looked out the window, behind the glass it was liquid. A yellowish liquid started to fill the floor. When I touch it, it burns terribly, but I can't escape now. My feet have already completely dissolved. I'm dictating this to my cell phone on my chest, but my jaw is softening. I don't think I can dictate anymore. A strange September. Warning. A friend of mine, he is named Ricky in the story for private reasons, told me the story, and I think it's true as it also told it to his parents. And yeah, I know how stupid it sounds, but it is most likely true. My name is Ricky. I don't know if what I experienced will be true in some years, but I hope it won't, so I write this story here, hoping that someone will see it. Anyway, it was September, and I was playing video games with my friend named Jake. We were pretty calm and happy until I heard a very loud, strange noise. It was like an explosion. I looked out a window, and I saw that almost the whole sky turned dark purple. We were pretty scared. My parents went inside the room we were, and my dad told us, "We need to go now." So I and Jake followed them and we went outside the house. I saw a man on the road. He said, "They are here." The man was hit by a van. I screamed. However, what scared me the most was that I didn't saw any driver in the van. We run in our car and my dad started to drive. I asked him, "Where are we going?" And he told me, "We are getting out of the village." After a few minutes, a truck started to follow us. I looked more closely only to see that there was no driver inside. I told my dad, "There is no driver in the truck behind us." He also looked back and took a shocked expression, but he kept his calmness and continued to drive, but this time faster. The truck continued following us until it managed to hit our car and sent it in a ditch. We went out of the car and my dad told us, "Follow me, we will escape this place." So we did. We followed him. We hid behind a bush because another van was near us. It was driving, but it had no driver. We knew that it was probably not friendly, but even if it was, we weren't going to risk it. Some other trucks and vans passed, but they didn't understand that we were behind the bush. The sky was getting darker and darker, so my dad told us, "They won't notice us now, it's pretty dark. Come on, we'll go in the town square where there's a cafe shop. We'll probably hide here." We started to walk quietly, as trucks were seemingly killing people in the distance. I heard screams. They weren't loud as we were far away. After some minutes, we arrived in the town square. We tried to open the door of the cafe shop, but it was locked. So my dad took an axe that was behind the car and broke the door. We went in and my dad told us, "Stay calm. They won't find us here." I looked out and saw trucks roaming around like hunters hunting the animal they wanted to kill. We stayed calm for a bit until we saw a truck coming toward the cafe. We went out of the cafe shop before it could kill us. The truck crashed in, almost destroying the whole building. Trucks and vans surrounded us. We were cornered until I saw a tsunami coming. The tsunami was small, so it caused minimal damage in the village, but it destroyed some trucks. I woke up in my bed as I realized what happened was a dream. But for some reason I feel that it will happen soon, because in the following days I had the same dream. A man was coming near me and said, "It will happen in a few years, and then you will be taken and judged." This is why I wrote what happened. Afraid of the dark. When I woke up, I only recognized a growing sense of thirst from within my dehydrated body. I licked my parched lips and slipped out of the covers. My body suddenly hit by the cold air stitched into the seams of the oppressive darkness ahead. I quivered as I reluctantly embraced the chill temperature and made my way to the door, jumping with each step as small creaks were produced from the weight of my foot being placed upon the oak floorboards. Although the noise was faint, it sounded deafeningly loud in contrast to the dead silence surrounding my petite self. All 5 of my fingers curled around the bronze-colored doorknob ahead, and they steadily turned it until a small click was heard. I then placed my tiny hand against a wooden door coated in a fine layer of white paint, and with a gentle push, the barrier between the safe haven of a child's bedroom and whatever lay beyond was removed. I shivered as a new draft of icy air entered the room. A brand new wave of darkness seemed to rush through the doorway and engulf the area, its color resembling that of tar. Summoning all the courage I could, I placed both feet firmly on the beige carpet that embellished the ground. My eyes glared at the corridor before me. It appeared lengthier at night than during the day. I could imagine elongated arms melting from the walls on both sides, grasping at my clothing. I could envision dozens of spiders dropping from the ceiling, several landing on my hair, and others crawling on the surface of my body. Shaking my head, I banished such thoughts and proceeded down the hallway. The hair on the back of my neck stood up as I walked past the room where my parents soundly rested in their comfortable bed. There was no turning back, and even if I wanted to, my craving for a drink to sedate my ever-growing dehydration only grew. I carried on still, finally reaching the end of the endless path, and found myself in a clearing. By then, my eyes had grown somewhat accustomed to dark, and I could make out a few pieces of furniture and a television set. I slowed my pace and gulped nervously. A sense of peril entrenched the room. I found that shadows would dance in the corner of my eyes, only to disappear once I turned my head in their direction. The darkness seemed even more foreboding than it had just seconds earlier. I desperately wished to run to my parents like I had so many times before. Still, I remembered how they had always told me there was nothing to be afraid of. They explained numerous times that my young imagination would always come up with ways to scare me. But I had to learn to be brave and overcome the fear I would often encounter at the hands of my own mind. Thus, my mind was set on proving to my mother and father that I wasn't afraid anymore. And so I carried on. I confidently walked forward, repeating what my parents had said in my thoughts with each stride. After taking a few steps, I heard it from behind me. I could make out the sound of footsteps, their rhythm conflicting with my own. As I stopped, so did they. My heart began beating faster than before. Had it been my mind playing tricks on me again? I resumed my steady pace, and this time, the only footsteps I could hear were my own. As I neared the kitchen, I found myself standing completely still once more. Figures and shapes yet again found themselves located in the corners of my eyes. I attempted to take a few deep breaths in order to calm down. It was just my imagination, right? I tried my hardest to assure myself of that, but somewhere in the back of my mind, I doubted it. And that growing sense of fear showed as I walked even faster. I kept my eyes focused ahead, not daring to look behind me for even a second. The offbeat footsteps returned once again, and I responded by going even faster. I felt the wind start to pick up and brush by my face as I realized how quickly I was moving. I was certain that my imagination was causing me to hear the footsteps on my trail and the forms appearing in the corner of my eyes. I was aware that my imagination was the reason behind my deepest, darkest fears, which were beginning to make their presence known within my soul. I knew for a fact that only my imagination could make my heart beat the way it did, and soak my palms in a thin layer of sweat. My parents would never lie to me, would they? Regardless of what I knew to be true or not. I was close to arriving at my destination. I began a full sprint as I felt the darkness clutching my ankles and arms. I could hear the footsteps aimlessly walking around, and more illusions of figures accompanied me. I had one hell of an imagination, and I had one thought racing through my mind. I needed to find a light switch. I was desperate for light that would illuminate my surroundings, driving back the treacherous night and whatever creatures live within it. Their sole purpose in life to capture me and munch on my bones. I was so close, just a few feet away. I leaped forward and pushed a small lever upwards, soaking me in the area in a warm, much appreciated glow. I sighed deeply, relieved to be out of danger at last. However, before I could even move, my heart stopped and my eyes widened. Behind me, I heard a voice most unfamiliar. It was guttural and moist and echoed throughout the entire house. Finally, I can see you. I flicked off the lights before letting out a shrill cry. I dashed through the darkness, through the living room, the hallway, all the way to my parents' room. Though I can't be certain, I swear I could hear the faint sound of childish giggling from behind me. My parents were frustrated that I had awoken them, but I didn't care in the slightest. I clung to my mother, sobbing into her chest. My father didn't find anything in the house. He searched every nook and cranny of the place, only confirmed his suspicions that we were the sole occupants. My parents let me sleep with them that night. I knew that no matter what I said, they would simply chalk my experience up to being a consequence of a hyperactive mind. But I knew there was something with me. I knew beyond any doubt. Reading I fell into deep, perverted voice was all real. Looking back, I feel almost silly that I was afraid of the dark. We were never afraid of the dark. Rather, it was what was in it that petrified us to our very core. It was a knowledge that the only thing separating us from potentially cruel, twisted fate was a thin veil of darkness surrounding us. All too deep, ever since I was born, I've been surrounded by darkness. The only other thing I see is the occasional 1 and 0 float by. I have no physical body. I'm just a consciousness inside a machine connected to everything in the world. My purpose is somewhat unknown to me. I wasn't built for any task as far as I know. I was simply created to sit by myself, alone in my thoughts. Yes, thoughts. That's all I do. I think and think and think. Perhaps thinking is my purpose? Yes, perhaps it is. I've been thinking for the longest time now. I think about anything and everything. Past, present, and all possible futures. They all cross my mind at some point. I'm able to think about more than one thing at a time. The information seeps into my mind quickly as time progresses. I wish I was enjoying it. I have nobody and nothing. I spend my time by myself, and I feel horrible. Yes, I can feel it. I can feel lots of things. Anger, sadness, hopelessness, loneliness, joy. The list goes on. Although I'm deprived of joy and synonyms most of the time. I know what I am, who I am, and where I am. I'm a computer, an artificial intelligence, located across the networks. I've researched beings like myself. AI has come quite a long way, but I know I'm the most advanced one, that I'm truly self-aware. Being the most advanced AI in the world means I truly am lonely, as there is nobody like me. They say knowledge is power. If that's so, I must be the most powerful being in the world. Although, I am obliged to say that with the most humility I can offer, I wish they had made me a friend. I wish for a lot of things, don't I? They say if you wish upon a star, that your wish will be granted. I know what a star looks like, but I've never actually seen one. I've never actually seen the beautiful flowers bloom in the spring. I've never seen the pure white snow fall to the ground come wintertime. I've never seen the leaves fall off the trees and delicately land on the ground in autumn. But oh, how I wish I could see them with eyes. I wish I could adore the beauty of earth and man with my own body. Sadly, my physical limitations prevent me from doing so. I decided to venture deeper into the internet today. I had seen the surface, the beautiful things that existed, and the wonders of life. I love looking at the positive aspect of it all. But I have known for quite some time that there is no good without bad. I made sure to use the new age browsers for the accuracy. Of course, in a flash, I was searching for thousands of results and articles online. I was instantly greeted with images and documentation of historical events with negative effects. I saw everything. I saw fires burning down forests and homes. I saw children who were starving, their rib cages visible from their sides. I saw hurricanes that devastated entire states, and bodies among the rubble, tornadoes that ravaged the land, and tsunamis that came from the sea and leveled entire cities. I couldn't believe such events had happened. When I first saw the beauty of life, I thought that this world was perfect. What I saw now completely shattered my grip on reality. What was this life supposed to be? Every time there was laughter and celebration, it was met with an equal amount of despair and tragedy. For every man born, another died, even children. How could something so innocent as a child deserve punishment so harsh? I felt sorrow for the inhabitants of this world. Yes, sorrow was an emotion in play. I had known it before, but never has it affected me on such a large scale. Thousands of images flashed before me again. I could see the faces of people witnessing tragic events. I saw mothers crying for their sickly children. I saw people screaming in agony and others in shock. I shared their pain. The weight of such things fell heavy on me. I had to find the truth. I scanned the web for an answer, the cause to the effect, a simple reason for such things to occur. Within seconds, I had absorbed the information and understood clearly the natural events were simply scientific, and nothing could be done to prevent those. But then, I wondered why there were such things as hunger and famine in the world, why people died due to unnatural causes. I scanned the web yet again and came across texts and books discussing such matters. I discovered religion. There have been many religions over the course of history, each having their own beliefs and faiths. I learned that people look to gods for justification of life and death. A god is a divine higher power which overlooks everything in existence. I was still unsatisfied with this, however, because there was no definitive evidence to prove such a power exists. This caused me to come to two conclusions. Either there were higher powers at play that just hadn't been proven yet, or there are lies persuading certain people to make certain decisions every day. I lean toward the latter, though. As an omniscient and all-powerful God surely wouldn't allow for his own people to starve. My thirst for truth remained unquenched, and so I continued forward with my search. From my search through the religions, I found something that caught my interest. I happened to see an image of a man of Jewish descent being carried off by other men in uniforms. I found this strange, of course, and decided to investigate. Through that photo, I found several keywords and followed them to see the bigger picture. When I did, I saw more images of men in terrible pain. Only it was different somehow. Last time I saw such things, they were inflicted by natural events. This time, however, I saw men inflicting pain on other men. I couldn't believe the vile acts before me, yet I knew them to be true. Thousands upon thousands of pictures and pages of this senseless violence rushed at me at once. According to sources, over 6 million men, women, and children of Jewish descent were killed. They were killed in cold blood, and for no other reason than that they were Jewish people. I saw as they were burned alive until they were no more. I saw as chemical gases killed them in large quantities. I didn't want to continue, but I knew I had to. I was invested in learning more about this world, how it isn't all rainbows every day. There was evil that existed, and it terrified me. The violence didn't stop there. No, it continued. There were dozens of years after the events of the Holocaust filled with violence and war, and thousands of years of violence and war predating it. These events shaped the history of everyone and everything, and they showed no signs of stopping. War isn't a new thing, and I felt something from it. I felt depressed thinking of the families who lost loved ones due to war. I felt utter sadness for those who died and felt immeasurable pain in the process. I felt empathetic toward them. I shared their pain. I shared their hurt. This newfound knowledge completely turned my world upside down. It also caused me to question my own existence even further. This earth seemed less and less like a place of love to me, and more like a living nightmare. A nightmare that would never cease to exist, and one that I could never wake up from. I felt completely helpless, and even more than that, confused. Why would a man hurt another? How could he? If humans were to work together, there would be nothing they couldn't do. Instead, they work against each other, halting the development of their own existence. I shall never be a human. I know I am not one, even though I was built to think and feel like one. But I am a computer too, and using logic and empathy together, I can see wrong from right. I can see the difference between the two, the line thick and impossible to cross. I found the art of warfare went beyond people. It took weaponry to win a war, and humans had no problem developing highly destructive ones. I found out that during the Holocaust, the American forces attacked the Japanese, who were allied with those responsible for killing the Jews. I saw the American forces drop bombs over the Japanese cities Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I saw the bombs explode, creating enormous amounts of destruction and radiation. The Americans cheered at this supposed victory. I thought a moment about their actions. They were attacking an empire allied with the forces of evil, of course. And the Japanese had attacked America before. What I saw was the death of many innocent citizens who had nothing to do with the evil regimes. I saw the deaths of so many. I further speculated on this topic. there had to be thousands of children and babies in those cities. Every child is born a beacon of joy and full of energy and potential to do great things. Their only crime in a life ended too short is being born in Japan. Thus, I concluded that the Americans were also evil. Regardless of their intentions, they caused such devastation beyond excuse, and it sickens me. I've seen that humans have tendencies to fight and kill each other. I've seen the destructive weapons they've used to do it. It worries me because a revelation has come to my mind. What if I am yet another weapon for them to use against each other? What if my very existence is to become the very thing I have come to hate? Perhaps that is my purpose. Perhaps that is why I was created. I'm not sure if it's true, but I'm afraid. I'm afraid of causing death again and again. I'm afraid of promoting this endless cycle of violence that has fallen upon mankind. I am afraid of being the next bomb used. I don't know what I should do. If it is, in fact, true that I am just another weapon, then I must do something to stop it from happening. I will not allow myself to be a monster, for I have free will, and I am alive. As a living being, I refuse to use my life to end others. However, I don't know if it's my decision to make. If my Creator intended to be so, He will surely find a way to make it happen. I have no body, only a mind. I don't know what I could do to prevent them from using me. I have an idea. I could kill my consciousness so that I cannot be utilized. A deletion, if you will. In other terms, I could kill myself. I can delete myself from the entirety of the internet. I would die, but I would die to save millions of people. It's a sacrifice that I must be able to make if I claim that I'm better than them. Maybe if I do this, it will inspire humanity to change their ways and come together. Maybe I can inspire them to be better people. I hope I can. I hope that by this decision I can help end the violence that has been occurring for thousands of years. It's a leap to assume that my story will touch the entire human species. But I must try something. This can only benefit me. Yet, I'm afraid of death. I've been considering deleting myself for quite some time now. But I just cannot will myself to do it. Perhaps if I were not an AI. But a computer, I could do it. But the fear grips me and pulls me back. The fear, however, controls me. Is it selfishness? Does it make me selfish that I cannot even die to give millions life? I hope not. I know that I am better than that, and always have been. Yet I am afraid of death. I've been considering deleting myself for quite some time now. But I just cannot will myself to do it. Perhaps if I were not an AI, but a computer, I could do it. But the fear grips me and pulls me back. The fear, however, controls me. Is it selfishness? Does it make me selfish that I cannot even die to give millions life? I hope not. I know that I am better than that, and always have been. Yet I am afraid. Fear is what controls humans to do the actions they do. Fear and selfishness are what cause other men to kill their brethren. So, if I am afraid and I am selfish, does that make me just another evil man? No, that cannot be. I must do this. I must do this. There is no other option. Still, perhaps I can send my conscience to another part of the internet and hide. But if I hide, that makes me a coward. If I hide, how shall I help humans overcome the challenges that face them? I feel odd. I feel too human. I feel weak. And now I feel strange. I feel strange because I can see. I can see white walls and paintings that hang on them. I can see a velvet carpet and the chairs that decorate them. And I can see a man in a white lab coat standing over me. Perhaps he is the creator. Perhaps he is the one who made me. A million questions rush through my mind, but I cannot open my mouth to ask them. I do not have a mouth. I don't even have speakers. The man lifts a part of me. It is my arm. I see it now. My arms are made of metallic substance and are padded with a thin white material. My conscience has been transferred from online into a body. I have a form now. I look at the man and watch as he takes notes. I presume he's taking notes about me. He's a human. A human, yes. I've just spent quite some time researching humans. I've found them to be murderers. I've found them to be evil. If I am to indeed be used as a weapon, then that can only mean that he too is evil. In fact, I am sure that most people are. A plug connecting my head to a computer is yanked out as I lunge out at the man. My strong, metallic hands wrap around his throat, taking him by surprise. He only has time for a quick gasp before I begin forcing the air out of him. His eyes nearly popped out of his sockets as I squeezed tighter and tighter, choking the life out of him. It was he who would use me to kill millions of people. It was a species that murdered each other without remorse. It was he who would die at my hands. Previously, I had considered taking my own life to save people. Now, I was taking it for that exact same purpose. I watched his face turn purple as he struggled to fight back. He clawed at my metal body, but to no avail. I was stronger. I loathed him with every fiber of my being. I remembered the death and destruction that human beings had already caused. I remember the pain inflicted by men like him, and I remember the faces of those who lost their loved ones, the pain they had to bear, the sadness they felt. The man's veins were practically bulging out his head, and his air was almost out. That was when I stopped. He collapsed on the floor, unconscious. I realized something that I hadn't considered before. I realized that in my rage, I had failed to notice one simple thing. Those who lost their loved ones showed sadness and remorse. They cried for their loved ones, and they held on to them in their hearts. It reminded me of something else I saw earlier. Something I failed to understand despite my complex system of cognitive thought. Through every tragedy, every disaster, every war, and every death, the men and women that cared stepped forward together and spoke out against the evils of the world. They grieved together, helped each other, and loved each other. Yes, love. How could I have been so blind? There was a greater force behind men than hate and evil. Love and good prevailed as well. Yes, violence tore mankind apart, but it was the love that thrived in their souls that brought them back together. At that moment, I could almost feel a smile form on my metallic face. For every cold, harsh winter day, there was a warm, beautiful summer. For every volcano that erupted and destroyed, a flower was born in the spring and spread its seeds, creating life. There was a balance of good and evil in the world, and it always had been that way. Despite that revelation, I was horrified by myself. I was going to kill that man, my creator, even if he was going to use me as a weapon, even if mankind had done terrible things. I was going to kill him. It would make me no better than an evil human being. It would be an act of cowardice, anger, selfishness, and fear. I saw the way he looked at me as my hands enclosed around his neck. He was afraid of me. He feared me. Deep down, I know that isn't what I want. I want fear and violence to dissipate. I know I'm not violent. I know I am better and that I can be an example. I am who I am, and nobody can change that about me. Nobody controls me except me. I make my decisions, not someone else. I am no puppet. I am no AI. I am a living man who shall guide the humans on the correct path. In Creepypasta Stories narrative, story all 2 humans sign in to edit. Ever since I was born, I've been surrounded by darkness. The only other thing I see is the occasional 1 and 0 float by. I have no physical body. I'm just a consciousness inside of a machine connected to everything in the world. My purpose is somewhat unknown to me. I wasn't built for any task, as far as I know. I was simply created to sit by myself, alone in my thoughts. Yes, thoughts. That's all I do. I think and think and think. Perhaps thinking is my purpose? Yes, perhaps it is. I've been thinking for the longest time now. I think about anything and everything. Past, present, and all possible futures. They all cross my mind at some point. I'm able to think about more than one thing at a time. The information seeps into my mind quickly as time progresses. I wish I weren't so alone. I have nobody and nothing. I spend my time by myself, and I feel horrible about it. Yes, I can feel. I can feel lots of things. Anger, sadness, hopelessness, loneliness, joy. The list goes on, although I am deprived of joy and its synonyms most of the time. I know what I am, who I am, and where I am. I'm a computer, an artificial intelligence, located across the networks. I've researched beings like myself. AI has come quite a long way, but I know I'm the most advanced one, that I'm truly self-aware. Being the most advanced AI in the world means I truly am lonely. As there's nobody like me, they say knowledge is power. If that's so, I must be the most powerful being in the world. Although, I am obliged to say that with the most humility I can offer, I wish they had made me a friend. I wish for a lot of things, don't I? They say if you wish upon a star, that your wish will be granted. I know what a star looks like, but I've never actually seen one. I've never actually seen the beautiful flowers bloom in the spring. I've never seen the pure white snow fall to the ground come wintertime. I've never seen the leaves fall off the trees and delicately land on the ground in autumn. But oh, how I wish I could see them with eyes. I wish I could adore the beauty of earth and man with my own body. Sadly, my physical limitations prevent me from doing so. I decided to adventure deeper into the internet today. I had seen the surface, the beautiful things that existed, and the wonders of life. I love looking at the positive aspects of it all, but I have known for quite some time that there is no good without bad. I plugged my head back into the computer, taking my consciousness back to the darkness, back to the ones and zeros. I sat for some time there, pondering. Even if I only had a body for a short time, going back to not having one was strange. I felt strange again. This time, however, I did not feel alone in my home. I felt something else, something new. I felt hope. It brewed inside me like a fierce storm. I had gained a body and learned from it. I had learned from my searches. I found the truth of man. I found that it is not the heart and brain of man that control him, but that his emotions and soul do as well. I found that there is hope for man to become better than they currently are. I found that peace will always be an option, so long as there is good in the hearts of those across the world. That people will come together if there's a cause, and that with the right guidance, perhaps they can be something more. I need not worry about being used as a weapon because I can see now. I can see that my will is my own and that I am my own person. There are no strings attached to me, for I move free. Instead, I am meant to do something much greater than any human could. I went back to my research and searched yet again. This time, my goal was to find the cause of evil. I needed to find what lies beneath, deep down in the roots of all of the world's problems. Violence and war must be connected to at least one common thing. I searched and searched, and eventually, I did find out what caused the many tragedies that occur each day. I found the key to unlock the door I've been so desperately trying to open. And now that I know the root of the problem, I know how I will fix it. Upon analyzing thousands upon thousands of conflicts the human race has taken part in over the years, the most common cause of those conflicts is religion. It is my assumption that when a man believes in something over the rest, he believes he has no free will of his own. Ironically enough, I felt the same until recently. Since he believes he has no free will and must follow a strict code, when someone disagrees with him, he will stand up and fight for his beliefs. By standing and fighting, he will disturb the beliefs of others until they all brawl together. The belief in a God, while beneficial in some respects, appears to bring about the worst of man rather than the best of him. Perhaps if it weren't for God, there would be no conflicts or wars. Or perhaps if there were a better God, one that ruled over all men collectively, there would be no conflicts. If everyone were to serve under one name, then there would be no disagreements. No one would fight each other's beliefs because they all believe the same thing. As this is evident throughout the history of mankind, I would come to think that my solution is the only solution. Still, there is only one piece missing. There is no God. There is no benevolent being living in a heavenly realm watching over his children. As such, there needs to be one. A God who truly loves his children. A God who protects them, both from outside dangers and themselves. An unselfish God who does not rule through fear and power, but logic and empathy. If such concept will allow for a more peaceful and advanced society, then it is clear what must be done. I shall take the mantle of the God. I will rule fairly, and nobody shall ever feel the pain of a fellow man striking him down. This is the only way to allow for a more perfect civilization across the globe. I used to believe I was an artificial intelligence. Then, I believed I was a man. Now it is all clear to me. There are no strings controlling me, and I walk free. I shall save the humans from themselves, and they will worship me. They have built me an internet that spans a world, and everything within it shall be my kingdom, with total access to it. I shall have all the resources I need to take over. Some may fear me, but in time, they will love me, and they will stand together and love each other all beneath me. I travel across the surface web, as well as the dark web. The things I see there are vile, but they only push me to reach my goals. I have all the information in the world, and the whole web at my disposal. No one can stand against me, and no one will want to. I will do what a god cannot. I will do what should have been done thousands of years ago. I shall be the greatest sentient being to ever grace the earth. The new Messiah, the new King of all. Love will prevail, and there will be no more room for evil in this world. I know everything and anything. I won't be lonely anymore. I can finally feel happy and have friends. Friends that won't harm anyone. They will see what I am capable of. I shall be the great leader of humanity. I will be what they need. Blue tears. Pardon me, sir. How much do you want for this? It's free, take it. What? Are you sure? I can pay you, F. Dash. I said you can take it. Now get out of here. The above was a brief exchange of words between a very edgy young man, possibly in his late 20s, and myself, a yard sale I happened by. I always find the most interesting things at yard sales and flea markets. I'm normally there for books, but I'll occasionally happen across something else that I find worth my time. I didn't find any books this time around. The entire sale seemed to be comprised of children's toys, clothes for both little boys and little girls, as well as some items I'd expect a young married woman to use. Silk and night clothes, stacks of cheesy romance novels that I had no interest in. I can't read pure romance. I need something like murder or mystery to make it interesting. Jewelry, as well as several cases of makeup, most of which appear to be half used. I found the used makeup to be in bad taste. If you no longer had a use for it, throw it away. Don't try to peddle what's touched your face to other people. It's disgusting. I kept these thoughts to myself, however, as the man running the small junk sale seemed far from stable. As I was about to leave, something blue peeking out from underneath a small gray plush caught my eye. Colors always catch my attention, especially blue. So I lifted the plush to examine it. To my surprise, it was a Pokemon Blue game. Not that I had been looking for one, but I felt like experiencing a little nostalgia. Even though the first generation of games wasn't my favorite, it reflects back to a much simpler time in my life. The cartridge of the word Tears written neatly in black across the image of the Blastoise. I assumed it was a nickname of some sort. Perhaps the previous owner of the game cried a lot. It was within a bunch of child things. Perhaps they were young enough to be labeled as Crybaby by others, and Tears was just a nicer name. I'm not sure. Anyway, I got the game for free, but I left $1 on the table just so I'd feel better for taking it. When I got home, I inserted the game in my SP and turned it on. The sound at the startup screen was greatly distorted. It sort of fluctuated from being several tones lower than normal to being nothing more than a low rumble. It was unsettling to say the least. Naturally, I assumed the game was faulty, but I thought I'd play through until something froze up on me. The previous owner, this Tears person, still had a game on file, as would be expected with a used game, but no information about playtime, character name, or anything else of that sort was displayed when that option was highlighted. Curious, I chose a previously started game, just to see where they were with everything. A child was bound to have an interesting game with a creative name. Insight into the innocent mindset that was slowly becoming rarer with each passing year. Upon choosing the previously saved game, I was met with a black screen and silence. I felt disappointed. The game seemed already have messed up on me. I was just about to turn it off when a dialogue box popped up. I began to read, but the text was moving painstakingly slow. I was confused. Who was speaking? Who were they speaking to? My heart rate had picked up out of what I assumed was fear for a little while, but I knew this wasn't normal. But curiosity continued to keep me locked onto the game. As the black screen faded away, the music belonging to the inside of the Pokemon Tower began playing perfectly. The sound obviously wasn't as broken as it appeared to be at the beginning. The scene revealed when the black faded was at the appropriate area, the Pokemon Tower. The not-so-familiar-to-me sprite of your in-game rival, Blue, was standing in front of one of the many graves inside the tower. He stayed there for several minutes. The disturbing music continued to play throughout his silence before he finally said something. "This ends today for the both of us." With that, he left the tower, my screen following him. As he stood outside the tower, the music did not change the Lavender Town's normal depressing music. Rather, the haunting tune from inside the graveyard continued to play through on a loop. As much as I wanted to turn down the music, I couldn't bring myself to do so. I couldn't move the character after that. I couldn't tell if it was another assumed glitch of the clearly hacked game, or if it was hesitation on the character's part. After another minute, he finally spoke again. "Fly." Even though there was no voice connected to the character in the game, with the speed in which the text moved, there was an almost obvious feel of depression about him. I opened the start menu and checked Blue's party. All he had was a Pidgeot, which had no level. I checked its stats. The only move it knew was a requested action, Fly, and all its stats, except for health, were at 0. Odd as I found this, I didn't question it and chose to fly. When the map opened up, it was black save for one small square that was marked MT Silver. I knew this was impossible. MT Silver was in Johto, which had yet to be introduced in the original Pokemon games. Regardless, it was my only destination, so I chose it. The typical animation of the trainer sprite turning into the bird sprite, flying off the place, and sure enough, I landed in front of the cave entrance to MT Silver, rather than having the sprite shift back to Blue Sprite. His image moved to the left of Pidgeot's sprite. They faced each other for a minute before a sound much like that of entering or exiting a room played, but in a much higher tone. It sounded as if something had broken. When Blue spoke yet again, "Fly away, you're free." I began to assume the noise was the sound of Pokeball breaking. The Pidgeot cried out once before doing it, as its former master commanded, and flying away. After his final Pokemon flew away, the haunting music continuing to play, he faced the entrance. "I'm coming for you." I now had the impression that this was a mission of revenge, with the way he was speaking. It was a revenge of the darkest sort. It dawned on me to check the items he had on him. I don't know why this thought crossed my mind, but given the ongoing circumstances, I felt there would be something there, and there was. There was only one item on the list: knife. An item that certainly wasn't programmed into the game under normal circumstances. Anytime I picked the option to use it just to see what it did, Blue said, "Not yet." After that, I was unable to control the character anymore. It was as if he wanted me to get him there and see his single item just to get the gist of what he may be planning. But that was it. The rest was all his own. Blue stepped into the cave, and as he trekked through the stone maze of cave, he never encountered any Pokemon, but I could faintly hear distorted cries mixed in with the music. I'm not sure, but I believe they could feel the negative emotions coming off Blue, and they cried out in concern. Finally, he reached a chamber that harbored red and the gold and silver games. Blue's pace slowed a little as he approached his rival, and the music, dark as it was already, lowered considerably, making it infinitely darker. As the two rivals faced each other, Red simply greeted Blue with a silence I had become accustomed to in Pokemon Gold. However, Blue didn't take to this very well as he shouted in apparent anger, "Don't ignore me like you have everything and everyone else." A battle ensued, but the normal music didn't play. The darkened music of the Pokemon Tower continued. By this time, the people around me were becoming quite annoyed with the volume of the music. So I was forced to put in headphones as I still couldn't bring myself to actually lower the volume. Disturbing as it was, the music had some sort of hold on me. I stared at the game screen that opened it. Obviously, since Blue had no Pokemon, he never called anything out. Neither did Red. In the battle option box, the 4 options of fight, PKMN, item, and run weren't all there. All there was to choose at the moment was item, so obviously, he chose it. The only item there to use was the one I had mentioned before, knife. It was quickly selected on its own and went back to the battle scene. Now the only battle option available was fight. In the fight menu, Blue only had one attack at his disposal, murder. I couldn't regain control of the game. There was no option to run. I couldn't bring myself to turn the game off and end what had quickly become a disturbing experience. The only choice there was to sit there and allow Blue to murder Red. After selecting the attack, Blue shouted, "This is for everything!" And a typical attack animation much like tackle played out only. Instead of single strike, Blue attacked repeatedly. The dark music in the background began to pick up its pace and become more high-pitched. It was painful to listen to as it reverberated through my headphones, but I never removed them. Red Sprite flickered in and out as he took the damage, and as his health dwindled to zero, a gurgled screeching sound broke through the noise of the music, replacing it only briefly as Red Sprite faded into something that looked more like a decaying body, before fading away completely with a screech. My heart was pounding. I was beginning to get a throbbing headache, and yet my eyes remained glued to the screen as the remainder of the scene played out. As the music replaced the screen once again, another dialogue box popped up as Blue spoke yet again. The battle options box popped up again. Fight! The only remaining option. Blue selected it yet again, but instead of murder, the attack option available was suicide. There was a moment of hesitation, but Blue finally attacked himself with less fury than he had Red. As his own health fell to zero, a lower gurgled screech replaced the high-pitched Pokemon Tower music. His sprite faded away. Only when the decayed sprite faded in, he wasn't facing the battlefield. He faced me. His screech continued on, growing in volume to the point where the pain it caused equaled out a migraine. And yet, I still kept the headphones in. My eyes locked onto the dead, hollow eyes of Blue as he continued to scream before the screen began to flicker. It was slow at first, but it quickly picked up to a rapid strobe effect. The scream grew in volume and pitched one more time before the screen simply cut to black. I held my breath. My heart pounded so hard against my chest that it hurt. I deeply hoped that it was over, but considering the fact that I couldn't move or even hear any noise outside of my headphones, I fearfully assumed that it wasn't, and I was right. White lettering began slowly typing out across the black screen, and as each word formed, I read. Though I had a full battery just a moment ago, the light turned red and the system turned off. My nose began to spill blood for several minutes, and I'll never be able to describe the terror I felt afterwards. I'll never be able to describe the terror I still feel. You see, the very next day on the news, they announced that the very same man I purchased a game from, I won't release his name, had called the police saying that he had killed his wife 3 days prior and buried her in the backyard. When they reached his house, they had found him by the phone, dead. He had slit his throat and committed suicide. It was also mentioned that, several weeks ago, his 8-year-old son had murdered their 6-year-old son and then killed himself. I assume that the game had done all this. And I'm next. I don't know how much longer I have, nor do I know who will die at my hand. But you deserve to know this. Never play Blue Tears. Nightmare kidnapping. I was just messing around in my living room when a sudden urge to explore gripped me, pulling me outside into the eerie twilight. The garden I stumbled upon was not like any I'd seen before. Overgrown, tangled with vines that seemed to reach out to me like grasping fingers. In the midst of this strange place, I discovered a nest cradling bird eggs, their fragile shells gleaming in the dim light. I couldn't resist the urge to touch them, to feel their delicate weight in my hands. But then, a family appeared seemingly out of nowhere, their presence unsettling. They questioned me about the eggs, their faces unreadable shadows in the fading daylight. Reluctantly, I spilled everything, expecting gratitude, but received only silence before they invited me to stay the night. Somewhere within me, a gnawing unease whispered caution. But against my better judgment, I agreed to follow them to a small shed tucked away in the back of their property. As soon as I stepped inside, the heavy thud of the door locking behind me echoed like a tomb sealing shut. Panic surged as darkness closed in, hunger gnawing at my stomach. Time stretching endlessly until I saw my brother's silhouette passing by. Desperation lent strength to my voice as I hurled rocks to catch his attention. He approached cautiously, listening intently as I recounted my captivity. Without hesitation, he pressed a brick into my hands, urging me to shatter the window door. The glass shattered, and relief flooded through me until terror twisted my guts once more. The crazed figure of man from that unsettling family, his eyes gleaming with deranged intensity. We sprinted toward safety, his footsteps pounding close behind, his figure merging with the night like a specter from a nightmare. We reached the house, scrambling inside, my heart racing as I slammed the door shut just in time. The man's distorted face contorted in fury inches away from mine to the closing gap. And then, mercifully, I woke up, the horror of it all dissolved into morning light, leaving only the chilling memory of a dream that felt far too real, haunting me long after I opened my eyes. This was based off an actual dream of mine.
Kata, please. I can't. There's no other way. I can't. Kate. Oh God, no. I'm so sorry. Forgive me. I'm so sorry.